Hi, everyone. This is a Reiki Lifestyle podcast, Robyn and Colleen Benelli. And today we have Jennifer Benelli, who is my daughter-in-law, Robyn's sister-in-law, married to my son. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Well, we actually have Jennifer here because she has been working with Reiki since, she and Nick have been married for over 19 years. And so she's been working with Reiki because when she met us, she kind of, went into it all with us. But then she has also been working in real estate for 20 years. And we just thought it would be a great topic today because there's so much going on in real estate currently and what the current trends are. And then also some of the tips and tricks that she has used over time with Reiki and crystals and things like that, and house clearing and other things like that. So we just thought it'd be a great combination to share. She has a very high level of expertise in real estate, a very successful career with it, and stays very current with the trends and what's going on. So that'd be a good topic for today.
Well, and I think too, it's we have all sorts of listeners that are either real estate agents or they are wanting to get into real estate or in stagers and, people that have some sort of involvement with real estate. I know we've got a few because we've received some emails from them before. So also incorporating the ideas that you use in some of these spiritual ways that you use within your business and in the different ways that some of your clients that are open to it also ask you on how and what you do for some of these ideas. Like Colleen said, house clearing is a big one.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and of course, her phone calls, send Reiki.
Yeah, right.
Reiki.
Contracts and
heavy negotiations and repairs and emotions run high when people are buying and selling.
If you're buying a house or selling a house, if you're going into a new home, all of these things that you can utilize Reiki for, or like I said, house clearing, crystal, some of those kinds of things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start with your actual bio. And so this is about Jennifer. Jennifer has spent 20 years as a top producing real estate broker, selling nearly 500 new homes throughout the Portland area. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's actually over 500 now. I'm like, whoa, that makes me feel old. Like, how did I do that?
Well, if you're old, I'm old. Okay, so she started her career selling exclusively new construction homes for Oregon's largest local builder. And then in 2015, she opened the first luxury division neighborhood for the largest new home builder in the U.S. By 2016, Jennifer realized it was time to expand her business beyond just new construction and bring her skill sets to buyers and sellers of resale homes in the Portland metro area. Jennifer has a master's degree. She is a master's degree educated realtor skilled in identifying her clients' needs and servicing them with a wide breadth of market expertise, and a master negotiator. Yes, you are. And her strategies for maximizing her sellers' profits and buyers' buying power have proven successful throughout her career. Whether working for sellers or buyers, her aggressive yet patient and communicative style has been instrumental in her success in meeting her clients' needs. Her ability to be creative and help highlight the benefits of the features of the homes she lists, as well as helping buyers overcome obstacles, has proven to be highly effective. Her proven track record earned her a reputation for being an expert, and 99% of her business is repeat and referral. Clients call on her over and over and over again and share her with their loved ones and friends. Jennifer prides herself on having a high level of integrity in all of her business dealings and keeping her clients' best interests as her number one goal at all times. And of course, she's also raising a family, my grandkids too, married to my son, and outstanding mother. Thank you. And in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and she volunteers at her kids' school, travels, makes art, and sings in her free time. So, and also is, of course, a very important person in our family. So we're fortunate we all live together, live close together, can see each other all the time.
Thank you.
Well, so Jen, why don't you go ahead and let's just start with where you started with it all, because it really is a pretty fun story.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I mean, I started as a teenager who was already home obsessed, and some of it maybe, later in life when I met you and got involved and kind of learned a little more about astrology too. And you had found I was a Cancer rise and it's very home. And I was like, maybe that's why I've always been so home crazy, right? So I was a teenager who on weekends would say, Mom, let's go look at open houses. Let's go look at open houses, instead of doing teenage things. Kind of weird. But I come from a very academic family, and it was like, you go to college, you get your degrees, you do that, right? And so I did it, and I went all the way through, and I got my master's, and I taught for 1 year. Taught middle school, and I was like, oh boy, this is not me. Nope, this is not happening. So I thought, nope, I'm going to follow my passion. And I was making crystal dragonflies at the time. And I just love dragonflies. And I was selling them down at Saturday Market and loved it and was doing it, but it kind of still wasn't the right thing. And I thought, gosh, there's something, I know there's something, I need to find this, and didn't know when it would come to me or how it would come to me. But I was engaged to Colleen's son, Nick, and I started to search for wedding dresses. And in fact, Robyn was one of my bridesmaids. And so she was with us, and we were downtown Portland at this beautiful dress shop and looking. And of course, I always end up striking up conversations with people and started giving my opinion on this other bride's dress. And we just started, yakking and talking. And anyway, she ended up, after a few minutes of us just really getting along, talking about weddings, she said, you'd be great in real estate. And she goes, and my uncle owns a new construction company here in Portland. I'm about to get married and leave on my honeymoon. I need someone I can train and can work under me and be my assistant. And I'll just train you everything you need to know. And why don't you come work with me? And I said, all right, okay, great. And so I did it. And, I was her assistant for about 6 months while I was studying for my license. And it was great. And immediately I started to get the hang of, selling new homes and learning the construction process, and got my license in September of 2003. And I just immediately, it was like, whoa, this is it. I love it. And so that's where I started. So it was kind of just this random, go all the way through, get your master's, try this, try that. And then just a chance meeting with this one particular gal who I'm still friends with. She's still in the industry too. And I had lunch with her last week, but still here. And that's how it happened. So 20 years in, and this is the big, 2 decades in, and a lot of changes have happened in real estate over 20 years. I came in as it was surging towards this crazy, market, and kind of similar to the last couple of years. And then we had the recession, 2007, 2008, and then back into the crazy market after the pandemic, and now kind of regulating and normalizing again. So.
Well, and some of that I want to add to that story, because actually what you had even said before you met Leslie was what we were just talking, and you were again like, I wonder what it is. I think it might be in real estate. And you were even kind of like brainstorming about what that would look like in real estate.
Yeah.
And then, because you've always been such an amazing manifester, then to walk into that situation, it was absolutely, we call it a divine appointment, that you were like, that was supposed to happen in that moment. And Robyn, I have to share, because part of it that was so funny was in how humorous it can be trying on bridesmaids' dresses.
Yeah.
And so, and Jen's experience and mine, and with this other group of women doing the same thing. And we were all just having so much fun laughing, and some of it at Robyn. And this one, it was right after, I think the same time as my big Greek wedding. And you had on, we called it the snow beast dress.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. My poor bridesmaids, I had them wearing some interesting stuff and ended up with the mango Dupioni silk. And not all of them were loving the color, but it matched my flowers.
Worked for me. I was living in San Diego and was super tan, and like I was, you know,
you were like gorgeous olive skin. Like, it was stunning on you.
Yeah.
And then my poor Portland, sister-in-law on the other side of the family, she was like, she has freckles and more fair skin. She's like, this is not my color, and I'm like, I'm sorry. But
I might feel different about the snow beast dress today. Now at 40.
I know.
And also in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's also funny about that, Jen, too, is how often I use the example of Reiki and when I'm on the job and when I'm not on the job, of your wedding at McMenamin's Edgefield, which is one of the top 10 haunted hotels in the country. And I still talk about that now. Or, by the way, when I was at their wedding, I was not on the job, and I told all the ghosts, I'm not on the job.
Leave me alone. I'm not doing this. I've got my focus elsewhere.
This is not it.
You did incredible work that day, though, too. I remember it was June 26th, which we never in Oregon can plan an outdoor wedding safely. It was like, you never know, it might rain. And it was supposed to potentially be really cloudy. It might rain. And you worked on that for days, and it ended up being perfect with weather. It was like you were able to get that one puffy cloud that blocked our eyes for the photos, so we didn't have to be squinty, but it was dry and it was sunny, and it was, it all just kind of came together.
Well, it's so fun to even reflect on it all. We've been doing reflection journeys this last week and thinking about that, and how many of how much Reiki and skills that we used for all of that, and how present it all was.
Yeah, it was all very intentional. And like you said, with manifesting, it was like, I remember I made the 135, I think, I made 135 beaded dragonflies. And I think we all started helping, right? But we would imbue the beads as we would string them. And so for weeks and weeks and weeks before it, we were putting our intentions into every bead on those dragonflies to gift to the guests. I mean, it was a very, very intentional. Everything we did, there was a lot of Reiki that day. So in everything we did.
Super fun.
It was. The intention was a rockin' party and a sweet ceremony, and it happened. Exactly.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of go into some of the story of where you are now with real estate, because of course I've known you all this time and watched all the ins and outs that you've gone through, and the current trends, and like you say, sometimes the up market, and then the 2008 market, and then swinging back, and then the last couple of years where it's been crazy out there with not enough inventory and low interest rates, and now normalizing. So that's my outside perspective, and having watched you, because of course for everybody we talk about it in conversation on the phone and things. So why don't you share about where we're at now?
Sure. We're in a very interesting, all I can say is it's a very interesting market. It's not bad. It's not good. Everyone wants to call it whatever they want to call it, because what it really is it's something we've never seen. And, real estate, first of all, is very cyclical. It's seasonal, it's cyclical, and it's regional. And so you have to really focus in on where are you talking about, it's like where. But first of all, going back to cyclical, usually over the last, 25 years, real estate did kind of a 7-year up, 7-year down kind of nice wave. And you could look back and it would just almost always be 7 up, 7 down. And it changed after the Great Recession to where, it was the end of 2012 was really the end of our bottom market here in our region, in the Portland metro market. And things started to go up from there. And so typically you would have thought, starting with 13 going up, you would have thought, okay, by 2020, things would then maybe start to change again. But then we had the pandemic. If you had asked me in, March 2020, when we were all sitting at home hunkered, if you would have told me that May 2020 through December 2020 would have been my largest number of sales in 6 months in my entire career, I would have laughed. No way, right? So we kind of catapulted into this whole different change that happened in the pandemic that no one could have, foretold. And the big thing that, catapulted everything that we all know is the interest rates. So we went from, okay, we've got to drop these interest rates and stimulate things. And they did. And boy, we went from, down all the way to 2.5%, which is incredible over the last few years. That's just unheard of free money. So yes, it really motivated people to buy. And so you saw the crazy bidding wars and the crazy, overpaying and waiving inspections and waiving appraisals and doing anything to buy homes. And that surged from 2020 to March of 2022. In March of 2022 is when the interest rates started to raise, right? They rose a lot, and they've gone up to, almost 3 times what they were. So again, that takes everyone by surprise. There's a portion of buyers that then can't buy. And then there's a portion that just say, oh, I'm not going to buy because, well, that's a high interest rate, 6.5%. Well, historically, it's not, right? I'm sure you bought a home in the 90s, like a lot of people did, at double-digit interest rates.
13%.
Sure.
Adjustable rate.
Yeah.
With no cap.
Sure. Terrible loans.
I couldn't believe I even did it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So people did that. But I think when a lot of the audience of people buying at the time are coming out of this 2.5, they're like, oh, I'm never going to pay that. That's terrible. So all of last year, there was a little bit of a slowdown to where people had to adjust and go, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Our prices are here and now our interest rates are here. Like shock moment, right? Sellers had to get out of a perspective of, I can just put my home on the market and sell it for anything and not give anything and not negotiate. And then buyers, had to fight to get homes. And so anyway, so we went through the last year was more an adjustment. And so I would say what happened, or what is happening now in the market, is really interesting. And it's a market that is normalizing. And what I mean by that is it's not a seller's market or a buyer's market. It's really normalizing. But I will say what is keeping our prices pretty relatively firm and up there is the fact that we still have low inventory. So it's a very unique market in that our rates are actually normal historically. It's just our pricing is higher than it was for years, right? We've had a lot of appreciation, and then people are adjusting to these new interest rates. But we're actually, we're at 1.9 months of inventory as of last month in Portland. And so that means that if no new homes came on the market, within 1.9 months, every single home would be sold in our market and gone. That's really fast. And like a middle kind of normal market is 6 months of inventory. So that's where we're at right now. Very strange, market in that, really a lot of people are not selling because they're locked into 2.5 interest rates. And they're like, well, geez, I don't want to lose the interest rate. So they're holding. So that keeps homes that would be coming to the market from coming to the market, making all these people who want to buy go, where's all the inventory? I want to buy a home. So what's happening is if a home that's in great condition and priced right comes on the market, it's gone. It'll sell quick. We're even still seeing some multiple offer situations, not 10 offers, but maybe 3. But it's all extremely dependent upon the price being right and the condition and presentation of the home. So you're seeing the days on market are now over 27 days. Back in 2021, they were lingering in the 5 to 7 range. And that was like the whole area, right? Each micro neighborhood is different, but kind of the whole Portland metro. So homes are sitting on the market, and most of them that sit are the ones that are overpriced. If they're priced right, they go. So anyway, we are seeing more inventory though. It's a little more than it was. So you at least as a buyer are probably seeing more homes on the market than you did, say, a year or two ago. So that's good news for buyers.
Yeah, I would say people are there, like you said, it has to be priced right, because there's some 2021 prices with 2023 interest rates, and they haven't quite adjusted yet.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. And but what I tell my buyers too that are looking, it's like, here's one thing though, if the home works for you and you can afford it and you want to be there long-term, go for it.
Yeah.
If you can afford it and you want it, you're going to stay in it, go for it, because you can refinance at some point. There will be a time when they come down.
Mm-hmm.
But that again is like, that's a personal choice. That's something, someone needs to decide. But honestly, if the interest rates go down again, what happens then? The buyers come back out, and then the prices go back up. So you kind of have to choose. It's like interest rate or price, in a market that has low inventory anyway. So, yeah.
Well, like you said, over the last few years, it's been a wild time in the market. I think most people are, understand that. So, how are you using Reiki in your either negotiating or your contracts? Like you said, people even waiving inspections, things like that. How have you been using that to help your buyers and your sellers? And still, I know you've been doing that for a long time. How do you use it?
And you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, it's got to be if someone's open to it, right? So if I have someone who's open to it and willing to work with the energy, then it can be extremely helpful. And so I use it. So it's for the client or for me, because
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
How do you, because even I would think that it's not something you commonly bring up until you kind of get an indication that maybe somebody's into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they're not, how do you use it for you in the process?
Right. Well, I always use it. So it's definitely, when you're buying or selling a home, it can be stressful for the people going through it. And even me guiding my people through it, my job is to keep it smooth and easy and minimize stress and minimize the challenges for my clients and make it easy. But there's big things that happen. And as we're going through these big things that can be stressful for everyone, it can be stressful for me too, right? It's like, everything's on the line here. And I want my client to have the best experience and the best outcome. So for example, if I'm, when I'm getting ready to do an open house, like for example, I'll sage the home. I will sage myself. I will put out all of my intentions on my altar for it being successful and the right people coming through, and to invite people who are going to see the home as their home and want to offer on it, and, see all the amazing, energy and opportunity in the home that these people saw, all the good memories, and let them feel that and imagine their own. So anyway, putting that out there before open houses. And it's really funny because if you do that, I just find that everyone that comes in, I see more people just streaming in, and everyone seems a little bit more, conversational and friendly and at ease, or they hang out longer. And, the longer they're there, the more they can kind of envision themselves. So there's one thing there. And then, when you go through the difficult parts, like going through repairs, a couple of years ago, people didn't even get into repair negotiations. They just take homes the way they were because they had to. Well, now what we're seeing in this market is, buyers are inspecting the homes and they want some repairs done or credits, and they're going to negotiate for that. And when I'm guiding, for example, my sellers through that, I want to make sure to keep it calm. And sometimes I'm like, biting my nails. I'm like, oh gosh, that happened. There's mold in the attic. The sewer has a crack in it and it's going to cost $5,000. And just all these things can kind of get in my head. And I've got to help strategize to like make it all work, right? Have it all come out where both parties are happy, they agree, and we move on. So I will definitely take time to send Reiki to the whole negotiation part, and I'll call Colleen and say, okay, this is a rough one. Can you send Reiki? Can you please send it? Or I'm going to meet the septic inspector right now. these can get kind of ugly. Can you send Reiki to it? And, standing over the hole in the ground as they're pumping it. It's like, I'm like doing Reiki symbols into my hand, and, the septic guy pumping doesn't know, but I'm doing it. I'm like, please, everything's flowing. It's flowing well.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Yeah, exactly. So definitely, like, through the process of, bringing that energy to the home, but also, for attracting buyers, that can be really big. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, there's kind of an old real estate thing called the St. Joseph statue. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
So it's kind of an old adage in real estate that St. Joseph in Catholicism was, there were nuns back in the abbeys back in the day, and they would pray for more land for the nuns and places for them to live. And so they would use the St. Joseph statue, and they would bury it upside down where they were wanting to buy land or sell land. Anyway, so a long story, fast forward, it kind of became a little more mainstream over the last 5 years as, different kind of new age ideas are coming more mainstream. But the St. Joseph statue, and people joke about it, but I'm like, I don't think it actually works. They get a St. Joseph statue before they list a home, bury it in the front yard by the for sale sign, and it's supposed to bring the home sale quicker. So anyway, just throwing that one out there. So that's one that you might hear that's more mainstream.
Can you see a sudden surge on Amazon looking for St. Joseph statues?
No, seriously. Yeah. I actually saw like a little joke one at a card store, Paper Caper, the other day. And I was like, oh, how cute. It was like just a little plastic one. Sell your home quick. It's a St. Joseph statue. But anyway, they kind of make fun of it and think it's kind of funny and jokey. But I'm like, no, I know realtors some that really do use it. So.
Well,
anyway.
It's all intention, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
Putting intention into whatever it is, like even, thinking of things like talismans and things like that people do, or crystal.
Yeah, sure.
That was one of the ways I also still teach about when I'm teaching the Reiki crystal grid, is how when you were in new home sales and you created grids around the neighborhood with the center crystal on the desk. So why don't you share about that too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we would do that. I would also put the crystal grid on my file folder. Like, for example, I still use these. We do everything digital, but you have to keep your paperwork for 7 years, and I always keep it. But anyway, so I always have my paper file, but I would have in my office, I'd have the whole crystal grid on this particular sale, so that it sells and it goes smooth and it closes. And so it was like a whole intention, literally physically laying on top of a file. But we did do crystals around the new home neighborhood too, to just kind of place at northeast, southwest corners of the land and the property to, invoke sales and smooth sales. Right. So that was one piece. Another piece back when I was in new construction that was really something we used for ourselves. And I think you'll remember this, Colleen. Nick and I bought our first home in 2004 or 5, and it was under construction. And I remember we asked the people who were selling it if we could come in and take a look while it was in the framing stage. And we went in with crystals and markers and came in, and we saged the whole framed structure. And then we wanted to, you remember this, Colleen?
Yeah.
We wrote on all the floorboards, like the subflooring, and on the walls and throughout the whole structure, we wrote words like respect, love, family, happiness, huge Reiki symbols on the entire great room floor. We did a giant Reiki symbol, and in the bedrooms. And it's very interesting because that all was encapsulated then under the carpet and all the layers and drywall and everything. But I'll never forget that home, because every person that walked into it when we lived there then said, oh gosh, it feels so good in here. Like, what is this feeling? Like, it just, like, people didn't want to leave. It drew people in. Later, we rented it out, and the renter said the same thing. My gosh, what is this energy in here? It just feels so good. It just, I don't know. And so you can implement so many of those things into not just, selling homes, but when you buy a home too. If you're building, for sure, make sure you get there and you get to the land and you could tell a little more about what you would do with the land. We've talked about that.
Yeah, to bless the land.
Yeah.
If it needs clearing, then do some clearing. And you can use Reiki for that. And then also to bless the land and call up the blessings of the earth through that land. And of course, we just did that in your home remodel that you're in right now.
Yeah.
And also for Calvin, in his, they built him a skateboard ramp in the backyard. And so we did the same thing, Reiki symbols all over the construction of it. And, and then I loved it too, because I can't remember his skating coach, his name.
Oh, Donovan. Uh-huh.
And he's out there and they're doing their own symbols, which are related to his, the way he thinks about things. And those are all over the skate ramp too.
Yep. Well, and it does. And it draws the kids, like his friends don't all even skate, but it draws them. They all hang out on it. Even if they're just sitting, they're done scootering, they're done skateboarding. They just sit there. Everyone just flocks to it. So they love to just be there. They can feel it.
Well, and I talk about them all the time too, because they both have Reiki as well. So it's also part of your family, part of what they do. They're very aware of it. In fact, I was just telling Calvin, now that it's summer, it's like, we're going to go hiking and do some river Reiki.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I love it.
So,
yeah, they do. They, if Cal is out there and he falls and gets hurt, he immediately will come in and he'll sit on the couch and do Reiki on himself. You've taught him how to do his own self Reiki too. So it's kind of cool.
And they have Daisy, the Reiki dog.
Oh, yes.
And we also use her in our animal Reiki stories.
Yeah.
Because she's so definite that she loves Reiki for the family, but she does not want to be a therapy dog for other people.
Yeah. She was very definite about that. Yeah. She's kind of just our family, but
this is it. I'll do all of you guys, including us, but Yeah.
Yep. She's very serious about her job here in our home. She maintains everybody here.
Yeah. She the other day when I was there, she's like, I need some Reiki and some hugs. I've been taking care of these kids.
Yes, she does. Yep, she does.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone buying a home right now? Because I know that, when in our conversations, it's so important to you that people really find the home that is the match for them. Mm-hmm. And, how that works. And I know you work both for the seller. You have homes you are working for the seller, and then, buyers that you are helping them to buy a home. But let's talk about those buyers. How do you, I feel like you always have that intuition about how you find the right match for them. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about that and then maybe also bring it into what buyers need to know right now?
Right. Yeah. So, ultimately, I think it's important when I'm talking to my clients, I need to listen. And a lot of people in this industry, any kind of sales, people talk too much. And I'm guilty. I talk like crazy. So I have to really remind myself when I'm listening to my clients, I am 100% listening. And so I'm taking notes and I'm listening to what their actual goals are, because everyone buys for a different reason, right? Your investors want to do this and want to buy something as a rental or flip it or, live in it as a family home. I want to know why the move. Number one, why are you moving from where you are now? Because a lot of times the challenges of their current home is what's prompting them. And then what do you envision, your next home to be, why, and how long? And those are really important questions. If you plan to be in a home, your next home, for 7 to 10 years, then I don't care what the interest rate is right now. You really shouldn't care, because if you can afford it right now at the interest rate it's at, you'll be able to lock it, right? So if you can do that now and this home meets all of your needs, then do it, because you can refi. Because there's one thing, what is it? Mark Twain said one time, there's land, they're not making any more of it, right? So if you're going to buy a piece of land and this is going to be your family home and you want this so your kids can run and your dogs can run and you can have goats and chickens and, you've got this whole idea of your life and where you want it to be, and a property fits that and you can afford it, then do it. And so anyway, getting back to it, I listen to what they want, how long they're going to be there. Of course, they've got to be qualified, make sure it's comfortable for you and it's what you want. But, if someone comes to me and they said, well, I'm going to do a flip. I want to buy a property today and fix it up and sell it next year for money, for profit. I don't know. We're going to have to really search for something maybe off market. We're going to have to search for something that's really a low price for some kind of reason, because I don't know that next year the prices are going to be higher, right? We're going to have to do a lot more work on your plan here to really make it work. So anyway, it's very different based on who's buying and what are they wanting to do with the property. But I think the biggest thing to know for buyers right now is if you have to move, then talk to a specialist, right? Talk to someone like me, sit down with someone who's been through up and down markets and been in active realtor for a number of years, lots of years. You've got to be at least beyond 10 years right now to really know what it's like to be in a down market or a tough market. And we're not in that, but if we get there, and just the challenges, it's like, right now, someone can service you better if they know kind of how things have been and they've been through enough transactions to know like how to be proactive and anticipate potential challenges and hiccups and things before, so that you're planned out, you're ready, right? So I think hire someone who you interview. If someone wants to call me, I can give you a list of questions to ask them. There's a lot of questions to ask, like one, for example, is if you hire a realtor, obviously you want to get along with them. You're going to go through this long process. It's very intimate. A lot of financial and private and personal things are going to come out. So can you spend time with them? How quickly are they going to answer the phone? Because I'm notoriously quick, like on it, and it's me. So how can they communicate with you and when? And then, will it be them? There's a lot of different realtors who you might hire them and then you'll never see them again. You're going to work with whoever's on their team or whoever answers the call in the office, or, is that okay with you? Is that what you want to do? And then local specialists, that's really important. Pick someone who knows the area that you want to live in and that you want to buy in. Because sometimes if people don't know a specific micro neighborhood, they don't know a lot of the nuances of it. So they may not know that, oh, geez, there's an active railroad right there. So if you buy that home, you're going to hear this. It goes by every night. Or they're about to, put a big giant, high-rise building right there. And I knew about the plans because I go to all the meetings here in my Lake Oswego neighborhood. So I'll know about that to tell you and make you aware. Also, some neighborhoods may not get the same price per square foot as other neighborhoods. And if someone is from a different area, they may not know that. So a local specialist, what I did through the really low inventory market of the last few years that was really helpful to my buyers is I found off-market homes. And so because I have such a deep network here in the neighborhood that I specialize in, I know homes that are coming on the market before they're on the market. And it was really nice through the last few years to save my buyers from having to be in bidding wars, because I would find a home before it even hit the market and negotiate between the seller and my buyer, and they'd get the home secured. So, and a lot of times it was well under, what it would have been sold for if it had hit the live market. So I think, people need to just be very, very specific about why they're moving, how long they'll be there, and explain that to their realtor and let them know. And then hire someone who really knows what they're doing to protect you. Because there's a lot of, once you get the offer accepted is where a lot of the work really begins, in getting through negotiations and getting through the financing part, repairs, inspections, and to the finish line of closing. So.
And I think that repair part too is another aspect of like having an experienced realtor, that you have such a referral list of people if a repair needs to happen.
Yes.
I know I ask you that all the time, like, who do you have for this and who do you have for that? And when you sold the houses for us after my mom died, you just immediately knew who could do what, how to get a hold of them. And I was surprised actually that was your job. I thought it would be like, oh, this has to be done. And that became my job then.
Yeah.
And so, and of course you were representing us as the seller. But back to the buyer, the other thing I know is like that, like you say, to know the area, like school districts and, the surrounding area, that kind of thing too.
Right. Yeah. And that's a big deal for people, and a lot of people, they want to know how close, a dog park is, or, shops like, oh, and is there, oh, you're gluten-free. Oh, cool. Well, there's like an awesome, vegan and gluten-free bakery that's 2 blocks from this house. FYI, good to know. And just knowing a lot about the neighborhoods themselves can really be helpful, because it's not just the structure, the house you're buying into a community. And just little tips. Like I would tell my clients to drive by the home when they're interested in it at different times of day too, see if people say, oh, who are the neighbors? And I don't know, sometimes I don't know who the neighbors are. Drive by, kind of snoop through. You can see who's coming home at 5, or, drive by a home that's near a highway at certain times. Let's go visit it, during high traffic time to hear, do we hear the noise? Is that going to bother you? Just different, things that people don't necessarily think of. It's my job to think of that, right? Like, just so you know, this home is priced lower right now because there's a railroad track behind it and it's active, and you may not be bothered by it, but when you turn to sell it, it will affect your value. Just different things where it's like, I'm always thinking about my client's exit plan too. So you're buying a home for you and everything fits right now, but I'm also going to make my clients aware of the future. When you turn to sell this, what could be potential challenges, or what could be really big, huge benefits. There's a couple, areas of Lake Oswego right now that are just, we're having a lot of growth, and there's a brand new elementary school in the neighborhood that I work in here. And it's incredible. It's a state of the art. It's already was a, top 10 school, but it's going to be incredible. So people have a lot of growth potential in neighborhoods that they're investing a lot of infrastructure and things like that into.
So another question I have that just occurred to me as you were talking about that, because so many of the lots in your area are really big, is it, you're in Clackamas County, but I know that the ability to build ADUs or mother-in-law units or whatever you I don't know what you call them now, extra units,
right,
has now become, the part of the zoning. It's allowed.
Yes. And that is a huge change that's happened. That's been really good. And this area here has a lot of large flat lots. Like you said, like I've got a listing coming up here next month, and it's a double lot. It could be partitioned off into 2, but they built like a cool workshop ADU at the back of it. So it's this giant flat lot with a nice home in the front, big flat grassy yard, and then this amazing, workshop ADU, 1,800 square foot, home essentially back there. Someone could move into that home and have an amazing multi-generational living situation. That's a big expense for people now, is what do I do with my, you went through this. It's like when you have elderly parents and they're aging, can everyone afford to have them, live somewhere that's $10,000 a month for assisted living? No. Is that even the best thing for them? Maybe not. I don't know. But people are building these, ADUs, and sometimes they call them granny flats, or, it could even be for like a 20-something child who comes home from college and isn't quite settled into their career yet, and they live there. Airbnbs are huge. You have to be careful about the restrictions in specific cities. Like some cities will not allow someone to stay for under 30 days in a rental. So it's always important to look at tax implications on ADUs and, additional dwelling units, tax implications, and then city codes, because, federally things have been passed to allow more density and people to build more home, mini homes and ADUs on their properties. But it's always important to look into the, tax implications too.
Are you seeing more multi-generational living? Because that's what I've been talking about. Like, it makes so much sense to have And of course, we're because of my in-laws at 95 and 91 and their location, and having caregiving for my mom, and and then kids.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like it needs to be more normalized.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's interesting. There needs to be a lot more of it. A lot. There's a huge need. The reason in our area, in our region, that you don't see as much of it as you should is our urban growth boundaries. So the urban growth boundaries around the Portland metro area inhibit building. So they don't allow land to be built on. And so that keeps our prices high too, right? So people have smaller and smaller lots that they're allowed to build on. And so if you only can have one structure on, a 10,000 square foot lot, and you've got to cram, big homes on little lots, it makes it hard to do. If you go to different regions, like I know in Texas, there's some different cities where they allow just suburban sprawl. You can build. But I look at new home builders there, and it's like they almost always have an option for a casita in the backyard, a casita, like a little mini house, and, for grandma, grandpa, Airbnb, whatever, guest suite. And I think I'm always like, it's a shame that we don't have that here. But the problem is the land cost it's so expensive. So the builders can't make a margin, so they don't build them. So they don't do it. So it's nice that the new laws have passed to allow people who have a nice big lot that they already own and they live on, that they can now add these ADUs, because it's just a huge, huge need going on and going in the future. And one other thing is, there was one builder recently that was building kind of like a multi-generational house. And I thought it was really neat. And they only could do a few of them because there's again, not enough land, but they were building homes where it was a new construction house, and you'd enter here and have a normal house. And then there was a garage here with a separate entrance for a little mini house. And it was really sad because people went crazy for these homes and they sold out immediately. But so far I haven't seen them in the last year and a half come back, because there just hasn't been land to build them on. But that was I think we're going to see more of it as it gets allowed. So I'm hoping that they'll open up more, land use laws and expand and allow us to build more. So, but in the meantime, I think that homeowners who have nice big lots that have the ability to build them on, do it. I mean, I think that's a huge value add going forward in the future.
Yeah, it just seems like it has to become more normalized and available, like you say. I hadn't thought of it from the structural part of it. I had thought of it more as a cultural norm of
that too. Yeah, that too. I think, America as a culture hasn't always been as multi-generationally living. A lot of European cultures, like my mom's from Belgium, and gosh, in Belgium, your elderly live with you. They live with you forever, and a lot of cultures are that way. A lot of my Asian clients, that's their culture. Your elders live with you, you take care of them. And so, yeah, there's definitely, it's changing. Our American culture is changing with different cultures, and that bring that awareness to us. And yeah. And then, of course, the cost of care facilities when we are aging, it's outrageous. So I think it is starting to make a lot more sense for our people who maybe aren't used to that. So,
yeah. And like you say, as the kids get out of school and just, it works.
Yeah.
So, well, then we talked about buyers. What do sellers need to be thinking about and doing right now?
Sellers, number one, need to price their homes right. I cannot express it enough. We all know, and if you see a home pop on the market and it's overpriced, you may not even look through the photos, right? You go, they're unreasonable. That's crazy. And they look the other way. And that home sits and it sits and it sits. And days on market affects value. So the longer your home is sitting, that affects your number, that affects your value, because as other homes are selling and yours is sitting, there's a reason why, right? It's not selling because no one wants to pay that. The market will speak. If your home is sitting and overpriced, days on market start to accrue. And the longer you're on the market, you eventually may have to reduce, right? If you want to sell. And if you have to have multiple reductions, that only emboldens buyers to come in even lower. So if a buyer sees a home up here at this price, sitting, price reduction, sitting, price reduction, price reduction, when they come in, are they going to feel really comfortable about writing the offer at that price? Probably not. They're going to go, oh, geez, I'm going to go even under because they're about to have another reduction. So being strategic about pricing and condition is crucial right now. When I'm meeting with my sellers, I am helping them and connecting them to all of the right people to clean off your roof, to clean your gutters out, wipe them down, wash your windows professionally inside and out. The house should be sparkling. I mean, make it sparkle. And I help my clients stage it, not even necessarily paying for staging, but to move things around. You know, that this is better spatially. Let's remove this. Like we go through detail by detail. The home needs to be in good condition, presented well, but it has to be priced right. And pricing it is it's hard because a lot of people, you know, they think, well, but Zillow says this. Zillow says it's worth $1 million. Well, Zillow's never been in your home. Zillow doesn't even have the right square footage on it, honestly. They don't know that you upgraded this or that this is a little outdated. They don't know that the neighbor next door has a broken down school bus sitting in front of it. That affects your value. You know, there's things that Zillow doesn't know. So you have to hire an expert. An expert comes in and helps you price it. And you want to price it right and have it like perfect condition because it's really important right now. There are less buyers out there and they're thinking things through and they're taking their time. They're not moving as quickly as they did on offers as they did in the last couple of years. So price. That's all I can say. Extremely important.
And expert agent.
Yes, absolutely. And that I cannot stress that enough. I have seen in the last few weeks, even some interactions with people with inexperienced agents where I'm going, oh my gosh, geez, like they're not taking care of their best interests with the way they're doing this. Or, you know, I mean, just things that I'm kind of blown away by because unfortunately my industry has a very low barrier to entry. And so, you know, there was 3,000 agents in the Portland market when I started in 2003. There's now over 12,000. It kind of went through this period where, of course, in an increasing market, everyone goes, oh my gosh, I'm going to go get my license. I'll do that. That looks fun. And it is fun. There are really fun parts. Obviously, there's great fun parts, but it's also, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of physical work. There's a lot of emotions, and there's a lot in it that you have to know how to do. And just going and getting your license is the easy part. But, you know, actually servicing your clients and getting them through these transactions is quite difficult, and it takes skill. So yeah, you've got to be careful who you hire and make sure that they may have a shiny, cute Instagram page or website, but you've got to ask the right questions and interview them and really get to know how experienced they are.
So then what advice do you have for people that are considering it as a career?
As a career, I think you have to really go in full time. A lot of times people say, well, I'm just going to have my license. So when I buy homes, I can get a discount and get paid a commission, or I'll maybe sell a couple a year or do this or that. It's not really, I mean, it's not an industry to be in part-time. So if you're going to do it, you've got to be full-time. And you've got to really put your heart and soul into it and run it like a business. And it's a people business. And to me, it's a relationship business. And, you know, 99% of my business is repeat and referral. And I'm lucky that way because, you know, my people are happy with me. So they hire me again and they tell all their friends. And that's how I make my business. I don't have to pay for leads or, you know, meet strangers and do all that. That's very lucky. But how you get there is you need to be a specialist. You need to have a focus. What are you really good at? Like, what's your, how do you help people, you know? And like with me, my ability is to, you know, listen to my clients and help them, you know, my sellers, I'm going to maximize their price and I'm going to minimize all of the issues and repairs and, you know, the things that they have to do that are going to stress them out. So de-stressing for my clients, maximizing their price, buyers, protecting them and getting them the best price. So, you know, I think with people getting into it, I think they need to know that, it's a long game, right? It's an industry that you've got to see it through, and it goes up and down. So you've got to be willing to and ready to work, you're going to have to work a lot. It's not the HGTV. You're sitting and drinking martinis while you go, oh yeah, you want to write the offer? Great, write it. And they hang up and they're drinking martinis, or, it's like the sunset. What is it? Sunset, the realtor selling sunset. And it's not glamorous. I was changing like light bulbs the other day for my clients right before, photos, because they had one that didn't match. I'm like, that's such a pet peeve. It has to be the right, matching. And I mean, I have done all kinds of crazy things. I was spreading bark dust 2 weeks ago with my clients because she was, at the last minute broke her foot. And I was like, damn it, I'm going to go get the bark dust and I'm going to do it. And she's like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I'm doing it. So, I mean, there's just, there's a lot to it. And I would say the biggest advice I could give someone getting into this industry is have a mentor. I think it's kind of crazy that like electricians and plumbers, they do like a journeyman where it's like, okay, you have your license to do this. Now you have to work under someone to learn the trade. Then you can go do it. And they should require it really in real estate. That way, someone like me who's been around a long time can take someone under my wing and have them watch me and do these things with me over and over again for a period of time to really get it. So, because you can't lead clients if you don't know even what they just send you out there and you're like, here we go, let's start. So yeah, I think you definitely should have a mentor. So.
Well, what I hear you say is it's more of a career than a part-time.
Not a side hustle.
It's not a side hustle.
Not a side hustle.
No, I don't think so. Unless, I mean, not a side hustle. Yeah.
Well, I know you have your Instagram that shows some of the realities of being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Like you said, you post some of those things like spreading bark dust.
Mowing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn or wearing the little footy things, some of those things.
Yes.
So do you want to just, tell everybody what your Instagram is and some of your contact information? So if you're in the Portland metro area, you can get a hold of Jennifer. She's got the same last name as us, Benelli. So you can get a hold of her. But also, I know that you said these are the things to look for if anybody's in a different part of the country. Kind of what advice would you give them in finding an agent?
Sure.
Like how do you look?
Anyone. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody? You can call me or email me, text me, whatever, from anywhere. And I would be happy to give people kind of like a list of questions to ask when you're interviewing for your realtor, or any tips on, pricing or selling. I mean, I'm happy to.
You just Google it, like real estate agents in my area.
Yeah, you can, but you got to be careful with that, because if you do that, there's a lot of agents who may or may not be experienced, but they're smart with techie things, and they'll pay for AdWords or pay for things, or pay Zillow to call them a premier agent, or, they can pay for them to rise to the top. So I almost think, sometimes you're honestly, you're better off if you have friends and family who had a good experience, asking them too. With me, if you're in this area, you're in good hands. I always have my testimonials. They're on my Instagram, but also I've got clients that are happy to get on the phone and say, hey, here was my experience with her. I always tell clients that are thinking of working with me to call them, call them. They're happy to take a call from you and tell you how their experience was. But me, I've got an Instagram. It's Jennifer Benelli. .realtor is the handle. So it's jenniferbenelli.realtor. And I do a lot of, I'm not as young as some people, so I'm not as, good at all the Instagram stuff, but I'm on there, and my whole thing on there is I like to be funny. So I do try to put little funny things on there for people to enjoy and be humorous, and put some knowledge on there, any little kind of drops of info and facts I can put out there. I like to share, and good experiences, things that are kind of current and happening. And I like to put, kind of market updates on there as well. So you can find me there for those kind of updates. So there's jenniferbenelli.realtor on Instagram. And then if you want to call me, my number is 503-453-6426. And this will all be, I think, accessible from Robyn and Colleen too.
Yeah, we'll put it all in the show notes for those of you that are listening and driving and can't write it down. You can find it.
Yeah.
And then what about your email?
Oh, my email, Jen, Jen, last name Benelli, and my lucky number 8, Jen Benelli 8 gmail.com. So.
Awesome. So I know one of the latest trends you've talked about on your Instagram is the color black.
Yes. Yes. I'm kind of crazy about it right now too. I know it's a trend. It is. Yeah. Black is kind of the, over the last couple of years, people got really into white, and all of the homes now, instead of having like a warm or a grayish color inside, all went white. So it's like the stark white, and lots of plants. Plants are in, greenery's in, black is really in, black cabinets, black doors, and black exteriors. And there's some really cool exterior paint colors that I have that I was going to post up there that are really good blacks to use, that I've talked to some designers about. The other thing you're going to see is curves are coming back in. So everything has always been very symmetrical and square for the last, even the whole time I've been in real estate, 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. It's been square. No, yeah, you're seeing like barrel vaulted. Have you seen it yet? You see little barrel vaults into like hallways, doorways. They're even putting some of that into cabinetry in kitchens. So, but huge trend right now too is like home wellness, and making sure that your home is safe, like low VOCs, a lot of, air filtration systems. If you're building a home, people are getting really into home wellness. So that's something I'm diving into right now and learning more about.
What does VOC stand for?
VOC is, you've got to be careful. People think, oh, I've got a brand new home. It's great and clean and wonderful. Well, a lot of the products that people use to build homes, like glues that lay down carpets and carpets themselves and different things. And I'm very sensitive to this because my son has a lot of allergies, environmental allergies. The whole family does. Those things, paints and whatnot, will off gas. And so what that means is there's chemicals in them called VOCs that off gas. And so as you're living in a home with all these new features, you've got to be careful because it can make you sick breathing it. So anyway, there's a lot of different. So when you're doing home updating and upgrading and doing things, look into that. There's a whole line of paints that are low VOC or no VOC. There's different types of flooring that are worse than others. Like just kind of, those are things to look into. And I've got a great contact if anyone needs. She's a local gal here in Portland named Michelle, and she has a company, and her entire business is around home wellness. And she can come into your home for a consultation.
Well, that is a huge factor of people in our community.
Yeah.
We obviously are a wellness community. And yes, I know a lot of people that find Reiki are looking for wellness because they may have come to it because they have an autoimmune or allergies, or looking for the things to help with pain management. So why don't you talk, first I want to say the black trend, love.
I love it.
You guys are getting the right colors, because I had a neighbor paint their home black, and normally I think it's just awesome, but they used a really bad color and it does not look great.
Oh no, and it's that's a good
You have
point.
to get the right color and get someone who knows what they're doing with it, because it's beautiful. Yes. Unless you don't do it right.
Yep. And and to add to that, the right sheen. You cannot.
Yes, that's what they did. They did a
shiny of it.
Yeah, they did a pour sheen on it, and it's like they've got some cedar, and so I think you've got to make sure you've got the right things, because it's done right. But
yes,
I want to talk about some now that you said VOC. Like I said, wellness, and I didn't know what that term meant. Can you give some of the terms that people can even Google to help with their home if they're either buying or even their current home, to know some of those terms? I think would be really helpful to some of our audience.
Absolutely. So looking into, here's another one, radon. As you know,
hey, that was me. We have a radon mitigation.
Yes, absolutely. Radon can make you very sick and even cause lung cancer.
Yeah.
People don't even know. And we're actually in an area where there can be very high levels. And I have a map actually that I use with clients too, that tells where some of the highest levels are. But again, it can come and go. So I've had clients say, well, 5 years ago, I tested for radon and there was nothing. Guess what? When these buyers buy your home, it can come back. It can go. It comes and goes. But anyhow, you've got to look for radon. The other is mold. I will tell you that 9 out of 10 homes I sell here in Oregon, 9 out of 10 have mold in the attic, and no one knows. And then they're shocked when the buyer, gets into inspections and there's mold. And it can be mitigated. But the thing is you've got to find the source where it'll come back. So make sure that if there's mold in your attic, you find the source and you not only remediate the mold, but correct the source. And typically it's ventilation.
And it's not always like how we think of black mold, although sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just regular. We had that one too, and it was remediated, and it was coming from the bathrooms. They weren't vented properly.
Yep. It's usually
but it wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't a bad mold. It wasn't, but still one of those things that can become bad if you don't take care of it.
Yes. Yes. And thankfully, I've never seen black mold in my career here. Thankfully, I haven't come across a house like that, but even just the spores and the, funguses that grow that are just normal and can be fixed and remediated, they can affect some people, they're very sensitive to it. So it's something to look at. So I would say radon, mold's a big one. VOCs and off-gassing. Those are some of the biggest. The others are EMFs. I have this gal that can come through with my clients, and she'll walk through a home and she'll even say, you've got to take that alarm clock away from your nightstand. It's running EMFs on you all night and disturbing your sleep. Your desk should not be sitting there because on the other side of the wall is an electrical panel. You're getting all those EMFs as you sit there. So really interesting things that are unseen that you wouldn't think of. And then as far as air quality, there's humidity needs to be right in homes, humidity or dryness, and then air quality. The other is water quality. I always, if I have a client who buys a home with a well, we're doing lots of testing on that water, correct? Obviously. However, I also recommend people do water testing during the process, because you never know if there's old pipes in there that are rusting, and the pipes could be bad and could be,
sometimes the city water too. You don't got to test that stuff, and you can filters to mitigate it.
Yeah. So there's all of that. And then one totally bizarre one that people don't think about much is sometimes there's old tanks underground on properties. And if those underground tanks, like old oil tanks, were not decommissioned properly, they can be leaching dangerous kind of, minerals into your soil. And who wants to start growing a garden in the backyard and eating the food out of soil that could be, so I always have my clients do a tank search on their properties as well.
Well, that's a fascinating one.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on the subject of home wellness. It's affecting people's health big time. I'm very interested in it right now for the neurological kind of aspects of what it can do to you, as well as like the health, the breathing, everything. It's very interesting.
Anxiety.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes just random symptoms that are difficult to find. So when you talk about the VOCs, is that something that things are commonly labeled with now, like a carpet, VOC, low VOC?
Yes. But you have to, in most cases, you have to inquire. It's not like one of those where, the FDA is protecting you from these things being in your food or being in your, they're not. No one's really protecting you from it. So it's, there's very few that they actually have made laws around. Like there used to be a type of insulation in homes that was coming from, I think it was coming from China, and it had some different chemicals in it that were really dangerous. And they built a lot of homes in the 70s and 80s using this insulation. And a lot of people got sick. And then there was a class action lawsuit. But the stuff that's going on now, I want people to kind of be ahead of that. Don't wait till people are getting sick and then have a class action. Let's just make sure our homes are healthy right now. And now that people are spending more and more time since 2020, we've all been at home more, and people say, oh, I just feel sick all the time, or I have that. You're at home. You're not outside enough. And if your home isn't healthy and you're home 99% of the time, really look at your air quality, water quality, look at the whole picture of what's going on with the health of your home. So,
one of what VOC stands for is volatile organic compounds.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Paint, old paint, lead paint. There's ways you can add in older homes, things like that.
Old lead paint, asbestos. A lot of those, though, you can test for them when you're buying a home. If there's an old home, any home built before 1978 probably has lead in the paint, and asbestos is likely. You get into old homes that have like linoleum floors and whatnot. It's usually got asbestos in it. Typically those, unless they're disturbed or scraped or opened up and get into the air, they're typically sealed under layers and layers of things. But it's something to test for if you want to be 100% sure and careful about it. And they can be remediated. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, and you're talking about, home wellness and in addition, like you say, using the Reiki tools, because wellness is the physical aspect, also that energetic aspect of home wellness, I think is another, piece of that would be a great just focus all the way around.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I have thought about it over and over again. I'm like, I just wish, I don't know if I'm the person to do it because I still just love what I do, but I wish there was someone that did that. I know, and you and I have worked with some house clearers and done a lot of house clearings, and you've cleared multiple homes that I've moved into. But there are those people that can do some of that really heavy cleanse for some really dark energies in homes. But it'd be nice if somebody had a business like that, right? That could say, my entire business is clearing and preparing, a home for a new owner. Because think about all of the energy left in the walls, in the carpet, in everything that happened in that home, like it left energy. So yeah, it'd be neat if there was somebody, that did that with Reiki entirely as their job. And I would bring them to every single client of mine and say, let's clear this house. They're moving in next week,
I think you'll be getting phone calls on that.
I would love it. I hope. Please do. There's a need for it. People want it.
So another thing you and I, that happened with us when Ron and Priscilla, my in-laws, sold their place in Las Vegas, you were able to refer us to an agent, even though you didn't know that agent. And we ended up with a really good agent. So can you tell people about how that works too, and how they can find somebody that's qualified?
That is actually the best way to go. It's kind of like I said, my business is 99% referral and repeat. And so when someone sends their friend or family member to me, they know how the process is going to go with me. Well, I have contacts in multiple states that I know are great agents and are very highly ethical and very good at their job. And I know a lot of people out there, but I also have a network in my company too. So if it happens to be a state where I don't personally know someone that I can personally refer you to, I can refer to people who are in my company that I can have conversations with and say, how do you do your business, and do kind of a pre-screening. I did this recently. I had a client who was moving to the East Coast, and I didn't have an exact person in the town she was buying in, but my company was there. And so I called my company, and I know how she is because I just sold her house and I know what she needs and what would be good for her. I interviewed 3 agents in that office that were from my company, and I narrowed it down to the one that I think was going to be the best fit. I looked at, how many sales they'd had in that particular neighborhood over the last year or two and got a feel for their personality and connected the two. And she's been thrilled and happy. And I thought that was, it's really important. So if you have a need for an agent somewhere else other than the Portland Metro, in Oregon, call me and I can connect you to someone who will help you. And do kind of the upfront vetting to make sure that you're not just landing with whoever you met at the open house or, you Googled and first name that came up. So, or
if you live in a different area and have no idea who even to contact.
Right.
So,
right.
Oh, that's really nice. So people can get that advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do that all the time for people, but not just my own clients, but people will say, well, I'm going to buy over here. And I'm like, well, let me help you find, the right, broker, agent. Real estate agent.
Yeah. Well, such a good conversation. Thank you so much, because I think this is an important topic that people have. Our homes are, of course, our home, and so very personal. And, I know when we were selling the farm and there was, I really cared about who landed in the home. I mean, I know you can't always make that first, but I was so glad when the person that bought it was meant for that home. Right. And then when you're the buyer, of course, you're looking for the place that will be your home. And so I think it's such a big topic. And with the market, the way it did it the last couple of years, like you said, I mean, who would ever have, if you had seen a movie about pandemic, who would ever have expected that real estate would respond the way it did?
No, it was
Those
unreal.
aren't the movies that they make about pandemics.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the real estate pandemic.
Yeah.
No, not as much of a blockbuster. People are like, yeah, boring. But yeah, who would have thought? I mean, I was like, this is not real. May through December of 2020. I'm like, what? We were all,
Yeah.
I mean, what? This is
I was actually thinking, okay, generational housing. If we need to, we've got it all covered.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, we were all making plans, but I think it takes things like that, giant life events like that, to sometimes trigger people, right, into making a decision that has always, like, an idea had always been sitting there and ruminating, and then it takes something like that to just kind of push them, right? And so I think that did it. It was like people sat at home thinking about things, and then, remote work gave people options.
Yeah.
Oh, I could live in a cute little hobby farm out in Newburgh, but still do my job. Okay, cool. Like, it gave people more options to go places, and, political moves, there was political reasons too. And so, I mean, it all kind of, interest rates, political climate, and, remote work, like, just really kind of all came at the right time to kind of just catapult the market.
Absolute game changer.
Yeah.
As we know, I know, we'll all look back.
Yeah.
When we finally get to the look back place.
You know what, though? My big advice, though, is this is a small little blip in the market, and everyone, media loves to play it as, oh, this terrible market, and oh, it's crazy, and interest rates are so high. They sensationalize everything. In the real scheme of things, it's like, if you need to buy a home and want to buy a home, buy the home, do it. This is not this. You're going to live a long life, and you're going to enjoy that home and have memories. And there's reasons for why you want to do it, and just find the right one. Make sure you've got a guide like me, someone who's there to take care of you through the process for the things you're not thinking of, that I can protect you with and help you with. And do it. It's just, this is normal. This is a normalizing market. So.
Which is so interesting too, because when we bought the farm, and that was, early 1990s, and the interest rates were 13%, and that was an adjustable rate and no cap. And a lot of interest rates were even up to 18%.
Yeah.
So when interest rates went down to 6%, it was like, oh my gosh, interest rates are 6%.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, that was like, because that was like the low for a really long time.
Right.
It bounced up and down. That was the lowest it went.
Yeah.
And, maybe a little
The
bit.
farm, wasn't it like $80,000 for 20 acres?
95. Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, there's a perspective.
Difference than $750,000 at 6% for
Yes. True.
an acre.
That is a big point. Good point.
So, we've got things that relativities here.
True.
I mean, I know we have inflation that made 95 a lot different back then than it is now, but still.
Right.
As a millennial, I got to speak up around this.
Yes. And to add to that, to the other side of it again, the rents are outrageous.
That's true.
Well,
there's homes in my neighborhood that are totally outdated, maybe only have one bathroom, and they rent for $4,000 a month. And I'm like,
it's true.
Oh
so,
my
if you're looking at $5,000 a month in a mortgage payment for a like home that you own, that's also a little more updated, that could then later be refinanced and go down, versus, and you get your tax write-off, versus renting the home at $4,000 that they can go up on you every year, and you have no tax write-off. I'm like, I'm going with buy. Yeah. But that's me. I believe in real estate, and I know it's one of the safest investments. So
yeah, it is.
But,
me too.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, Jen, really fun conversation. Yeah. And I love how, again, we talk about real estate all the time. Yeah. So I'm aware of your expertise, but I think it's an important conversation for our listeners. And, if any of them are in the place of buying and selling, to just have some of this advice that you gave is really even a helpful place to start from. Yes.
And I'm happy to take a phone call, an email, anything. There's no obligation to work with me or anything, even if you live here. If you want to call and ask me questions and say, hey, I'm in the middle of this or that, or I have a question. I mean, I'm happy to share anything I know that could be helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Well, thank you. Again, she is Jennifer Benelli. Robyn, you were on mute.
No, I was just going to say, let's make sure we share her information again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, since you just talked about
So,
yeah.
Jennifer Benelli, why don't you go ahead and say your Instagram and your phone number?
Yeah. My Instagram is Jennifer Benelli. All no separations, no dots, no hyphens. JenniferBenelli.realtor. And that's my Instagram handle. And phone number is 503-453-6426. That's my direct line. And then my email is Jen, Jen, last name Benelli, Benelli, the number 8 at Gmail, jenbenelli8@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, and I appreciate that you say you'll take phone calls.
Yeah, I'm like old fashioned. I'll meet you in person. Let's go have coffee. Call me on the phone. We don't even have to text. Let's call. Let's meet each other face to face. So,
yeah, that's somewhat of a rarity, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So good for you. Well, thank you. And of course, we're Robyn and Colleen Benelli and at ReikiLifestyle.com. I think we always like to mention our distance Reiki shares. They're free every week, Tuesday mornings, and open to everyone. And then we have upcoming classes in with animal Reiki, and I believe I have a Reiki 1 and 2 in August also.
Yeah,
And
we're not
Reiki
teaching,
Master in September.
We're not teaching in July, but we do have animal Reiki August 16th and 17th, and animal Reiki the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Master.
Colleen, I don't see a Reiki 1 and 2. Oh, there you are. Reiki 1 and 2 on August 14th and 15th. So again, if you have any other questions, you can, of course, email us or get a hold of us.
Oh, you know what else I should mention is that William Rand and I are teaching an 7-day class in Hana, Hawaii in November. And so anyone that's interested in that, go to reiki.org and look for that or email me. But that's a really amazing class.
And actually, we should mention that we're also going to be at the Sedona Reiki retreat.
Oh, yeah.
And that is over Labor Day. So that is September 1st through 4th. 1st through 4th. And that will be at the Mago Retreat Center outside of Sedona, Arizona. So we will not only be attending, but we will be presenting. It's really amazing. And you can go to reikiclasses.com/retreats to find that, or just reiki.org on the homepage. They have a link to it. So either way, you can find that. And that's really amazing.
Well, I want to add to that with the retreat that they did just hire a professional video company to provide a really good quality online virtual Reiki retreat. So go to reikiclasses.com and check that out too. So it's going to be both in person in Sedona and online. So people can attend both ways.
All right. Well,
I think that's everything.
Many blessings. And until next time. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was great.
Thank you.
All right. And big blessings to all our listeners.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.